So we all make tactical mistakes in Battletech. We all make tactical mistakes in any war game. This is part of the growth process. And one of the things that I've explored in my Tactica is this idea: you're new to Battletech. Could be any war game, but we're looking at Battletech right now. You're new to Battletech. Your first 10 or 15 games don't count. I mean, we're going to try and win. Winning is important. You want to feel that glory on the tabletop, but you're learning the rules. You're learning the lances. You're learning your player personality. You're learning what works in Battletech, what works in theory in Battletech. Like taking my longbow and marching it up to the top of a building or on top of a hill. That works in Battletech. I've got range. I've got line of sight. I've got redundancy. I got a lot of missiles. It works, but it might not work, because if I can light you up, 4 or 5, 6 mechs that you have can light me up. And can I take that concentrated return fire? So in Battletech, you learn the tactical flow. Just because you can do it in the rules, tactical positioning, this might not be the time to do it in the rules. So we kind of explore that aspect. But in jumping in, when you make mistakes, you want to learn from them. And I'm going to share with you a mistake I made that illustrates this idea, understanding the scale of the map. And then we're going to jump into looking at some different map scales to try and create the most, and I use this word in a good way, the most tension in a Battletech game, to engage in the action and keep that action up. So this was a city fight, city tech type game. We've got an amazing table of terrain, lots of great places to hide, to fight, to jump. And I have to say, there's this moment in Battletech when the table's set up, your mechs are deployed, we're getting ready for first turn. And you pause for a second. And I like to think of myself as a mech commander, but also literally a mech warrior. I look at my machines on the table. I get down to that eye level. And I think imagine your lance coming up to the outskirts of a city, and enemy forces are in there. Infantry, tanks, other mechs hiding, could be mines, could be artillery, could be air support. And in that moment, everything's quiet. In that moment, everything is ready. The action is that's when you put on your headphones, because it's Battletech. It's still the 80s. You're putting on your headphones. They're not wireless. They're plugged in. And you're absolutely ready to go. Well, clans, you got the tattoos, so I guess you get it through that way. But there's something about City Fight, an awesome map before the game starts, where you're feeling the pulse. You're feeling that. And in this battle, there were two really good ways to approach the city to kind of get into the center. Two areas based in my deployment that I could get. I have a lot of long-range missile mechs. I had some Karnovs. I had some warriors, the usual stuff to spot. I could go in these two directions and kind of attack with my long-range missiles, indirect and direct, and really get a good position. I couldn't decide, so I split my forces. Generally, you never want to split your forces, but the map looked too cool. I had to use both avenues of approach, and I figured I'd meet in the middle. Well, the challenge was, this was such a huge table. I mean, we literally filled up my dining room table with stuff. It was such a huge map that it took a long time to make it to that center point. I would have been better off just approaching in one way, so this way everything could be combined. Literally both approaches had a lot of targets of opportunity, but because my opponent was also spread out, it was less targets than I thought. So it was a tactical mistake because I got so psyched with the map. Again, it was fantastic. We were playing on a very large surface, a very large table, and I only had 2 lances. Now, if I had 4 or 6 lances or support, that's a different story. So the bigger the table gets, and by table, it could be a wargaming table, it could be hex maps, it could be a hybrid system. The bigger you go, you also have to adjust for, are you playing 2 lances, 4 lances, combined arms? Like, what's the battle value? What's the battle value that you're playing? Big map, 4K battle value, a lot is spread out. What that means is you start to have the first couple of turns where you're just kind of moving along and nothing's really happening. Now, those turns go quick, but nothing's really happening. Now let's go to the exact opposite, playing on one hex map. And you can scale up in Battletech. There is no right or wrong way, but we're talking about this idea of trying to create that tension, try to create that 80s techno with my headphones plugged in because wireless doesn't exist in the far future on the table. If you're playing on a small map, one hex map, and you're playing 3 mechs, that's got tactical bite. That's good. That's fun. As soon as you go over 2 lances, 1 lance maybe, but like 2 lances or combined arms, there's too much stuff on the map. It's just a grind fest. It's really just blast away. And that can be fun for some games. Don't get me wrong. I like blasting things away. I like shooting mechs, but you want to have some positioning, some tactical play, the ability to flank, to outflank, to kind of work all these aspects. So when we play Battletech, you need to take into account the size of the map and the size of the battle value that you're playing. So this way, turn 1, ideally turn 1, no one is in any position to shoot. Turn 3, you should be into position by shooting. So that gives you turn 1 and turn 2 to make some decisions. I'll go on this left side of the city. I'll go on the right side of the city. I'll combine my forces. Maybe I'll move here. Maybe I send the rifleman and the Jaeger mech up on the hill. You have to make tactical decisions. And then as your opponent counters or also makes tactical decisions, all right, Fritz is just sending the Jaeger mech up there, I'll ignore it because it's really, big deal, autocannons. That's different than like Fritz is sending up both of his longbows. That's got some bite. That's got some dice behind it. I'm going to have to respond to that. I can't just ignore it. That creates the tension in the game. Then when you hit, turn 3, 4, 5, 6, now we're in it. Now the music's thumping. And now you have, with an appropriately sized map and the correct mech force, now you can decide, hey, I just got my arm blown off. I'm going to internals. I'm going to retreat with this mech, or I'm going to pull back to this position, fortify. I'm going to try and move. You have maneuvering within the action. That creates this tension. That creates this excitement. So in the best world, assess the map that you want to play on and adjust the battle value. But again, this is entirely fluid. I mean, I played a Battletech game once. And I don't know why. It was just an odd night, but like everybody was at the gaming store, like just packed. I mean, like literally we were like right by the front door, and we had a table that was maybe like 2 feet by 1 foot. It was like a weird little spot side table. We just threw down some trees and a couple of mechs and played. I think we had like 4 mechs. So we just went with like all assault mechs. So I was like, look, 2 Atlases and 2 Awesomes and play it from that perspective. So scaling things, absolutely. But in scaling it, battle value for map size, trying to create that 80s music vibe tension to really bring out the narrative in Battletech.